Normally, I don't do these kinds of videos of this Wesky Squirrel does it. Pens in use. My episodes are not nearly as exciting as his. I think my pens might be as exciting as his, but I don't use them in particularly exciting ways all the time. Sometimes I'm just doodling just because I have to. And sometimes just having the pen in your hand and letting it wander around without any actual use is, other than making you smile, is what's fun about these things to me. Why am I drawing a hot air balloon? I discovered this drawing I did of a calligraphic hot air balloon over a landscape, and I guess that's what made me draw this suddenly without thinking. I'm not sure where this video is going, but you can just hang out with me in this Sheaffer pen with really old, 70-year-old or more, older Carter, no, it's Sheaffer ink from an old pint bottle that is probably older than I am. And anyway, I just, when I get a new tool to draw with or write with or paint with or whatever with, I like just testing it out, see what happens. And I don't have anything to write. I don't have any ulterior motive in what I'm going to do with this pen. I'm not going to write any sort of manifesto. I'm not going to write an angry letter to the editor. I'm going to make a hot air balloon. Why does this pen want me to draw a hot air balloon? I brought pens out to draw with on Sunday, and I ended up giving up after 2 drawings. And I don't know why I did that, but I just was not, sometimes pens are not the tool. And I ended up doing drawings on my iPad instead. And I liked them much better, the iPad drawings, rather than the pen and ink drawings. And why is that? Because they were better, Pierre. Am I done with this? Should I sign it? Pierre. Add to shopping cart, $1 million. It's just really, really interesting to see what the pen wants you to do. The pens should have the channel Peer in Use, where they're telling me what to do. They're saying, Pierre, we want you to draw a picture. What kind of paper am I going to draw on? This is a pen I was going to, this is a pen I loaned to a person who was interested in buying some pens for me, and I included this as part of the package he tried out, and it came back. He didn't like it, and I didn't really expect him to necessarily like it, but I wanted him to try it out because it was just something entirely different than what he had been buying from me. And what he had been buying were flexible nibbed Watermans for the most part. And there's certainly nothing wrong with flexible nibbed Watermans. But I thought, let's give him a stiff nibbed Schaefer. You notice that I'm not posting this. I'm sort of holding it in my hand like this, and I don't know why I'm doing that. Why am I doing that, Per Gustafsson? Why does this pen want me to do that? Is there a reason? What does this pen want me to write? Why is this pen leaking? Why is it doing that? I did get a group of sacks, pen sacks, rubber sacks that you put in these pens recently that you can't tell are bad until you put them in the pen and fill them with ink, and they're not cured enough or something, and they end up sort of dissolving. So that might be the problem here, but let's just find out. Maybe it just needs to be refilled. Sometimes when your pen drops a blob, it's a sign that you need to put new ink in it. If it runs a little wetter. Is this coming apart? It's not coming apart easily, so I'll leave it together. Why is it doing that though? There's something about holding a pen sort of within your hand. It's a different feel than having it posted and balanced more in the fulcrum of your hand. It makes me drive the pen differently. It's kind of like being in a off-road Jeep or something, where you're doing four-wheel driving on a bumpy patch of road. I remember I had dinner with my family, and as often happens with families, there was tension between my mother and my father and my mother and the rest of us. Sometimes she would get somewhat argumentative. And anyway, it was sort of an unpleasant dinner, and on the way home, where we would imagine the arguments between my mom and dad would continue, and my brother was driving the Land Rover or whatever the kind of car it was, and he suddenly drove off the road into a field which was very bumpy, and we bounced up and down, and he did that to, jiggle us up to get us off of this sort of track we were on. Mainly my mother was on, and it did the trick. This pen wants me to go off-road and not obey the rules, bouncing up and down. I don't know. Do you have pens that, write your answers below. Do you have pens that tell you what they want to write? I know that you pick up a pen for a particular purpose. You choose this one rather than the other one on the desk because this one has the nib that you know when you want to write that letter. What the hell is wrong with this? I forgot that I filled this bottle of ink here. I thought it was down to the last little dregs. This is a flexible stub nib, and it too wants to do certain things. This is not an off-road vehicle, though. This is very much on the road. This is the sort of what this wants to be in terms of a car. This wants to be the U.S. Army truck in the science fiction movies that, with the loudspeakers on the top of the thing saying, "Stay in your homes," because the UFOs are coming down, or move to the evacuation site. That's what this move to the shelters, that's what this one wants to please. This one still has manners, still says please at the end. Do not panic. This pen's purpose is very different from this one's, and that's very, very different from this one. This one is the old lady who's sitting on her rocking chair at the farm, and the police officer gets out of the van here and runs over to her front porch and says, Mrs. Travers, you have to come." "No," she says, "no. I've lived here all my life, and I'm gonna die here. I got my shotgun and my gin." So that's what this one wants to write. And it wants to draw pretty hot air balloons. There's a lightness to this pen, a thinness to the pen that is very different from this one. What was this one doing? This is the off-road one. This is the one going on all of the bumpy roads. You see a close-up of the suspension springs and pistons and whatever they are, compressed air pistons. But this one is just so delicate. This is Granny on the front porch with her gin, her jug of gin, and her shotgun. Delicately holding her own, rocking back and forth. Taking another swig of that gin. So, yeah, I think what I need in my life is a backbone so that I can control what my pens do rather than them controlling me. But I like being told what to do. It's sort of easy. What do you want, pen? I want to draw hot air balloons. Huh. What do your pens insist that you do? I was taking a pee yesterday. These are the peas I made using another very fine pen and some ink and a big pen and some water. And I don't think I used watercolor. I just used the ink, brown ink and blue ink, and it turned into yellow and green because that's what it did. Here's another pea I took. I have a bunch of frames that I'm tripping over. And I thought, well, I'll just take the thing that's in the frame. In this case, it was an original watercolor, pretty watercolor by someone whose initials are ED. And I turned it over and made a pea, took a pea. And so now I can trip over this. Before, I was tripping over someone else's watercolor, and now I'm tripping over my own pea. What do you think of that? I don't know what I think of it. Am I wasting my time? More importantly, are you wasting your time? Yeah, this one wants to go off the road. This does not want to follow the rules. This does not want to go 35 miles an hour in a 35 mile an hour zone. This does not want to stop at a stop sign. It just wants to go straight through. Doesn't want to go fast, but it wants to go forward, firmly forward. You can really, I mean, one of the reasons I think I wanted this guy to try out this pen was there is flexibility to this line, but you really have to work at it. If I press down as hard on a Waterman pen as I'm doing with this pen, I'd break the nib, the Waterman nib. But this one, I'm not harming this nib by doing this. This nib can take it. Yes, I can press down too hard on this nib too, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm still trying to find the case for this iPad, which is here somewhere. And I don't know where it is, but it should be within a few feet of where my fat ass is sitting. And I just cannot find it. But that's what I'm looking for. Okay, bye everyone.